Hello and welcome back. Today we are continuing our Victoria 3 tutorial series, or wait, no, that's the wrong one. Today we're continuing our China run in patch 1.7, which is the new patch, still discovering and learning about the systems. Last episode, we in particular kind of expanded, had a little bit of a block party, expanding the Mr. 10 Tickles block. We tickled everyone this time, and we got Ukraine, we got a little bit of Central Asia, we got up over here, and we also have consolidated very nearly all of South America. This is kind of our goal for how we're playing. Are we influencing Egypt? We hope to get Egypt in. What we really want to do is we wanted to do a sort of Silk Road slash, Belt and Road type thing, where we extend our grasp all the way into Africa and all the way to Europe, and so we're pretty close on that front in regards to our power block. Now, also, was kind of looking through some stuff last time, and we have this government dividends phenomenon, which is going to be the result of having a bunch of nationally owned buildings, and we see that, I was looking closer at this, we see that government dividends efficiency is at 25%. Now, we see the base value is 25%, and then we get an additional 5% from technology. I could have sworn it was at 50% earlier, but this might be, it's at 50% under certain economic types. We'll take a close look at this, but this means that 75% of the value is just getting annihilated. It's 30%, and then it's modified by having government debt. So having a lot of debt is going to make this even worse, and this money is just getting annihilated from the economy, when it instead is going to someone who owns a building, like a capitalist. What they will do is they will spend the money on consumer goods. If we take a look at the investment pool change, we should be able to see that reinvestment is now multiplied by 1x. There is no reinvestment malice, so we really would prefer our buildings to be owned rather than being government owned, because even though it gives you a little bit less control of where the money is, the fact that money's getting annihilated from the economy is causing a stagnating effect, which I think is what we are noticing in regards to buildings being kind of not fully employed, even though we have a lot of available workers. We have, in fact, a ton of unemployed in these states, but prices are such, prices are slightly depressed relative to what they otherwise ought to be, and except for grain's been a little bit expensive, and so we see this price depression, and this occurs when there's not enough buy orders for stuff, just a very general price depression in our market, and so I think one of the drivers of this is this government ownership. So even though it looks nice to be getting government dividends here, it is a little bit painful. Now, I have a suspicion that laissez-faire is going to tell us what the government dividends rate is, because I could have sworn when we were on agrarianism, it was 5. Okay, so this is the thing. So now we have this government dividends efficiency modifier, which I wasn't paying as close attention to last time. But this is pretty significant, because the more and more government buildings we have, the more critical having something like this will be. So if we take a look at interventionism, we can see that, do you have government dividends efficiency? Yes, plus 25%. So if we had a ton of government buildings, that would actually... The question is the free money modifier from the capitalist investment pool contribution efficiency more useful than the 25% government dividends efficiency? And it really depends on how much each of these guys are owning. And so we're just kind of trying to think through this here. Also, the loan interest rate is absolutely tremendous, and the private construction allocation is a preferable thing, as is the number of companies. But this is I wish there was a better way for us to check exactly, like we can go to the building registry, but I would like to know exactly what percentage of my overall economy is government owned versus privately owned. And maybe there is a way to check this in the UI, but not as far as I can tell, other than like manually checking, which we're not going to do that. But this is an interesting sort of thing where I'm trying to think through this is a very serious drawback, right? The fact that relative to the other options, you're not getting this government thing. So this number that we're seeing in government dividends, which by the way is worse when we're running a deficit, this number would be very nearly double this income that we would be getting, and this would be money from thin air in the government dividends. right? So if this were doubled, we'd be getting an additional 100 or 1 million. However, we would just be getting an additional 100 million because the amount of owned buildings are what they are. We'd still prefer people to not be, or the government to not be owning buildings. That way it's not deficiting the economy, but it would be what it is. Now, as far as the investment pool change, we see that the investment pool change, we are also getting a free money modifier, right? In the capitalist investment pool contribution efficiency, which we are getting from laissez-faire. However, reinvestment is 2.7 million. If we assume that 1.7 million of this, right, is in the financial districts, or plus this, let's just call it 2 million. If we assume that 2 million of this, or actually if we assume that 2 million of this is, from the capitalists, what we can do is we could do 2 million or divided by 1.2, right, or 1.25, because we are getting this capitalist investment pool thing bonus. I don't think we're currently getting, we're not getting the industrialist bonus. So if we just bop out the calculator right quick and do 2 million, or 2 divided by, or let's do 2 million divided by 1.25, we are getting a free money modifier that is worth roughly 400,000 here. Maybe we could show, or sorry. So this is the amount we'd be getting without it, which is 1,600. So this implies that the free money modifier, as far as like trying to quick math it, this 25% capitalist investment pool contribution efficiency is worth roughly 400,000. Whereas in terms of getting as a free money modifier, this is not including the fact that government owned buildings are erasing a very large percentage of stuff either way, because even if this were doubled, even if this 25% were doubled, it's still not preferable to have government owned buildings, because they'd still be erasing 50% of money from the economy. But what I'm trying to say is the free money modifier that we would get from going back to interventionism at this current juncture with the loud car outside seems like it's actually would be bigger than what we are getting on laissez-faire. And so it might be the case that we're supposed to swap back. Laissez-faire has been hyper meta for like forever now. And one additional company is really hard to quantify relative to like trying to think our way through this free money modifier. But the government dividends efficiency, I guess it wouldn't be a straight double because we're getting 5% from tech, but extra nationalization investment return. Nationalization compensation, which is returned to the investment pool when nationalizing buildings owned by POPs. Oh, this is... I still don't think you want to nationalize, so this is maybe less significant a thing. But let's just take a quick look at, some of these other ones, which cooperative ownership, it forces collectivization, sure. And then this, I think, avoids government ownership. And I don't know if it turns all the government buildings directly into POP-owned buildings, which we would prefer, while still keeping the capitalist ones, because I don't think it immediately changes all the ownership. I think we would retain all our capitalists, we would lose the free money modifier, we would eliminate all the government-owned buildings, and so I imagine cooperative ownership is, again, still going to be hyper-meta, but let's see command economy. Gives 40% government dividends efficiency, so that would crank that up to 65%. Which is pretty good. You'll still be getting the effect that we're having right now is our economy is in a depression, which is because we are building faster than the private ownership can buy, which is overall deleting more money from the economy, which is creating a situation where all the prices get depressed. You used to see this in 1.4, you don't see it anymore. And so this is a little bit of an interesting thing. We also get minus radicals from nationalization, minus nationalization compensation, so it's quicker to compensate, and extra authority. Also leverage resistance is a bit of an interesting one. But I think that command economy is probably still bad, but definitely way better, because it used to kill 75% of your money. Now it's only killing 35% of your money and giving you that enormous amount of control again. I still don't think I still think the fact that the only reason cars are expensive is because we're like not building them because they're bad. The PM does not seem to be buffed on the version that we've received, but look at everything else. It's just super low in price. Because there's not consumption, because instead of a ton of money, extra money going to owners, it's just getting annihilated from the economy with the government ownership. So I was having a look through this thing, trying to think through this, and just kind of giving some of my preliminary thoughts. By the time this comes out, I might have even a video on this sort of thing, in terms of like the new economic systems, but this is definitely a huge change up. And the thing is laissez-faire is going to be better if you... It's actually like... It's right now, it looks like interventionism would be better for us right now, but I think laissez-faire is better in an early phase of the game where your capitalists can keep up, or maybe it's just good for the political situation of getting the industrialists in power so you can pass laws. But other than that, interventionism, like, it might be making a bit of a comeback, and by a bit of a comeback, I mean it might actually be good now, because it's never been good. But anyways, let's continue with the run. Okay, so we just unlocked battleships and submarines, and our goal here is to absolutely crank up the amount we're paying for military goods from specifically the ships, but these things also consume a lot of ammunition, and also ammunition, ironclads. I think that some of these consume artillery. Yeah, these consume artillery. We see that there's also a huge radio input on all these, and we're adding a whole bunch of ships. We can check now that our army power projection is going to be a function, or sorry, our prestige from this is going to be a function of our army power projection. We have an army power projection of 27,790, and then correspondingly, we have 10% of that in terms of how much prestige we are getting. We have just added an amount of Navy to the queue that is, here we have 2779. We have just added an amount to the Navy that is just an absolutely disgusting amount of ships. I think that we're going to more than double our power projection and go up to above 50,000. And it'll be interesting to see how much this both affects our prestige, which I think it's going to be, I mean, look, we're getting... 27, getting an additional 3k prestige. That's quite a bit of prestige bump. That's going to be more than the entire prestige of the next three biggest prestiges combined, just from this huge bump in Navy. I don't know if our economy can support it, but the idea that we're testing is, of course, can we do it using our interest group? Oh my god. Clicking is hard. Can we do it using the armed forces here? Now, we have to try and get the armed forces happy with this again. It kind of sucks that we have this authoritarian boyo. We'd kind of prefer a communist, and I think that we might go communist, not only because of what we just talked about earlier with the economic system, but also generally the armed forces are pretty happy during communism. We've been kind of trying to massage together a bunch of agitators who are agitating for Council Republic simultaneously. We really wish we had a militarized agitator who we could promote to government to have the guarantee. I mean, we might take a little look at what we could do exiling this guy, but expecting to see a huge shift in, you know, the economy. Now, can we support this? Kind of. Not really. So we'll see if we just collapse everything or if we have to delete construction, but we're really looking to see if we can get this goods for military buildings, if we can use the military buildings, all these buy orders, to stimulate the economy, much in the same way that we are annihilating money, right, from having government ownership, because only a certain amount is reaching 75% of the value of the dividends is just getting annihilated, and this gets erased from the economy. In a similar way, when we don't have to pay as much, and then they send in full buy orders for the goods for military buildings, because we have minus 35%. We're actually buying like $1 million worth of mill goods here. We just have various modifiers that give us a discount. We're buying over $1 million right now, which is effectively giving us, you know, like 300,000 free money. But the government's dividends malice, considering that we're getting around $1 million from this, this means that roughly $3 million is being annihilated from the economy, because we're getting around $1 million just from it at 24%. That means $3 million is getting erased from the economy. So we're hoping to reach a point where we can continue to stimulate the economy through through the consumption of military goods. This is the goal. On top of this, we're about to hit parliamentary republic, and I think from there we might do a great purge, and eliminate all the non-party people and make a little bit of a shot for council republic, which I think again will be better. And I think that would instantly delete all the government ownership, which would buoy up consumption, which would allow all of our buildings to be profitable again, so we don't have this situation that is reminiscent of the olden days of having way too much pop and collapsing prices, this weird stagnating economy where everything is cheap. This is bad. This means your economy is in sad mode. So, we spend a little bit of time rolling generals, which is to say we just come through the screen, we're looking for a general with a particular set of traits. In this case, we're looking for a communist armed forces guy who's popular. When you exile the leader of an interest group, what will happen is someone will come and take their place. And that someone is random unless you have a popular general or admiral. We have a ton of popular armed forces guys, but all of them are 25 or lower. Now, my understanding is that this is a weighted roll for the popular guys, where the more popular guys get more weight, but very consistently, or this is what I've been told, very consistently, we actually see it actually is just straight up the most popular guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to exile this guy. It's going to give us a significant minus armed forces approval, so we'll exile this dissident. Bad. This is the beginning of the purge, the beginning of what we see to be the purge, and then we see the new guy who's in charge is indeed the communist here. So he will, for example, now, he's not even that mad, because he kind of likes a lot of the stuff we're doing, but not only that, he will support, eventually, the swap to Council Republic. And so what we have to do is we have to somehow figure out how to handle the Confucian scholars. I think this is not based on the Confucian scholars. I think what we will have to do is we will have to exile or promote to government this gentleman, because the corporatist ideology does give them care towards Council Republic. I do not think it is based in the Confucian scholars. Or is it now here? Nope, don't see it in there. Don't see it in... Yep, they strongly oppose Council Republic either way. So that is unfortunate. So we're going to need to find a way to weaken them. Maybe we end up passing something to the tune of freedom of religion, even though they have a really good bonus. Possibly even going state atheism, because now the armed forces boyo will support that, to kind of pave the way for us to be able to go Council Republic on the follow-up here, where the industrialists don't like it, the scholar officials don't like it. The scholar officials are going to be significantly gimped by the monarchy coming down, and also the fact that I think they're only at 5% clout anyways, so our purge begins. Everyone's like, oh, you just purged the authoritarian guy, and it's like, no. This is the start of something else. So a pair of wars kicks off against the UK, or there's one that's going on over this revolution. We asked them to become our subject, and they obliged, and then the Ceylon uprising. So we'll be getting both these guys. We would have preferred a British bankroll, but it was only the uprising happened second, and it was only uprising we could have gone for a British bankroll for. So we're kind of in our bed, and now we're making it. No, wait, that's not how it works. Okay, anyway. Here we have a situation where they have a navy that actually should be able to beat ours, but because of how the navy mechanics still work, they have 23 monitors, 20 torpedo boats, and 42 ironclads. They should be able to win this fight. However, the way it works is, since they have 3 admirals, they get split. Oh wait, they have even more than 3 admirals. They have 6 admirals for all these. And they get split in each army, whereas we only have 25 torpedo boats and now 3 submarines. Also, just wanted to note, the consumption profile of the torpedo boats, in terms of what we're doing, is probably pretty good. I think explosives is a really efficient industry, so is its inputs of both iron and iron and sulfur and fertilizer, which also has the input of sulfur, are all very efficient. So torpedo boats, it might actually just be kind of the best flotilla for stimulating the economy, because the inputs are nice, whereas ammunition's a really terrible input. But anyways, these guys are just bodying them, and they will continue to body them in this raiding kind of setup, even though they have more units, because at the start of the battle, they're only bringing 28 of those 135 units down to bear. Alright, so we should be getting Parliamentary Republic here, which is going to kind of head off our ability to go Council Republic. Also, we see we have a massive movement here. we also enforce on them. So we get the Liberal Revolt is now our subject, and now we start a new war with the UK, so never stops, never ends. And we get Parliamentary Republic. Not sure, I guess our front got maintained throughout this time, but we now are China. We turn blue. If we were green, we would die. And now we are going to also have an election kind of coming up in the near future. We have 45 days to the election. What we can do here is we can purge everyone who is in the military, or sorry, who is a scholar official, an industrialist, or a Confucian scholar before the election. Now, this will make them really, really, really upset, but we should just be able to pass Council of Republic with 3 ticks and the armed forces with the support of 83. And so with that in mind, I think we're going to start a purging. So what we're going to do is we are just going to come over here. We're going to have this sorted by the military tab off to the right, and we're going to take a look at generals. See, this is the military tab. We're going to take a look at generals, and if they are an industrialist, we say goodbye to you. This is what it's called the art of the purge, everyone. And if we do this before unpausing, we can move things around. This will instantly start a rev, but it doesn't matter. We are going to retire everyone who is from the everyone who's an industrialist, basically anyone who opposes Council Republic, everyone who hates the laws we like. We're just going to purge them, which is going to be Confucian scholars. Literati now oppose it. Alright, well, I guess we're going to have to say goodbye to the literati, too. The truth hurts. I think that we'll keep maybe generals that... Oh, man. Actually, are they loyal enough that they just won't rev? Yeah, they won't rev, so we won't purge the literati, but we'll purge everyone else. We'll purge everyone else good and nice. We're going to purge not just the younglings, but everyone out of our recruit pool as well, because you might as well, and we are going to be... Once we unpause, we're going to re-roll through a few of these, but we just want to clear out our recruit pool as well, because everyone knows that you can't just kill all the Jedi, you have to kill all the future Jedi, and so we're going to purge not just anyone who's not armed forces / other stuff. We're going to purge everyone who can become them as well. That way things will be a little bit easier when we try and recruit up for clout. We will do the same thing with the Navy here as well. Just gotta click through. You see we have a whole bunch of unmanned fleets now. Well, that's not our problem. But we're gonna purge the younglings too here. Everyone gets retired. And so we went from having maybe some 80 generals, I forget what it was, maybe it was high 60s generals to 45, and having, I don't know, 20 or 30 admirals to having 14. But as you can see, no one of the wrong ideology is with us anymore. They've disappeared. They've fallen out windows. They've fallen on bullets. Such is the way of things. All right, now the fun begins. We haven't unpaused yet, and as you can see, the scholar officials, they're revolutionary. They're revolutionary. Industrialists also revolutionary. But we want to take a look at what happens to their clout. So we have 14% clout, 26% clout, 5% clout, and 10% clout, 25% clout, 4.6% clout. Is it going to happen anymore on the Monday tick? Are we going to see a bigger dip? The Manchu, yeah. With the stroke of the pen, 2 millennia of imperial rule has ended. Manchu emperor, etc., etc. I think that we want them to continue to be a primary culture, so we're just going to take the radicals, which is actually going to help our super big revolutionary thing. These guys didn't dip as much as I thought they would, but we're going to have a I wonder if this is going to get... So we currently have a revolutionary movement for Enact Council Republic, and I don't think it has enough radicalism. Even with the additional radicals that we got, I don't think it's going to be enough to raise the radicalism at all. We'll wait for a Monday tick, but yeah, it's not enough. Okay, fair enough. But what we will do now with this adjusted clout, since clout changes how much and what you will be rolling, now what we'll do is we will roll generals of the ideology we like a little bit more, not trying to avoid popular people who don't have ideologies that we like. So we would not want the traditionalists, for example, but we can just come in here and we can power up the armed forces even more. These guys still aren't insurrectionary, so we can still keep recruiting and firing some people. But in particular, we're looking for... we're probably not going to find enough of them for this to be really worth it. We're looking for trade unionists more than anything else, and it's a bit unfortunate that we're probably not going to find any, so maybe we should just commence with the passing of Council Republic anyways. So we'll reform the government. We need to somehow figure out a way to put in... These guys are gonna get revolutionary. Maybe we can do this. Yikes. And then we could try and pass Council Republic, which will have 100% law pass ticking, because of this massive movement, and so we'll get it in before the revolution, or our purge will be way too much and we'll just get collapsed, and there's no way back once you purge, because there's no way to make these guys unhappy. You can't back down from a purge. You either purge them or you die. Yeah. Of course, everyone is pissed and revolutionary, but we're gonna say smell you later, because we have 100% enactment speed. Now, this is a very critical thing. Oh, holy shit, that's so critical. Not like this. Oh my god. Oh my god. Alright. We're gonna lower taxes because we need to be above 50% on the government here. This is... yeah. Alright, boys. We didn't roll well enough on the events. It doesn't look... It looks like we purged more than we could chew. So now... Either we really bricked ourselves. To be fair, we could side with the revolution, reset our infamy, so we could do something stupid or silly like annex Bengal and annex France at the same time. I think that we have fully reduced their autonomy, so I think that we can annex them. Diplomatic... Oh no, we can't. We can annex France though, and then reset our infamy by swapping to the Rev. I think that we're gonna try and play a little bit more normal, and maybe try and come back to this purge idea. Oh man, but it's like... We're so close. I don't think we can fight this Rev though, is the thing. I don't think we can fight this Rev. I think it's too big. It's too much of... Oh. Alright, so I think we can actually cheese this with resignation. So what we're gonna do... because we can't fill this bar up twice fast enough before we rev here, because it's just there's not a way. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cancel, which is going to make this rev hopefully go away, and we're gonna hope that, oh no, you need more radicalism. Alright, let's get these guys to stop being revolutionary. What we need is for this to fire as being revolutionary. Now, I don't think we can invite an agitator. I think we've exhausted that possibility. Even though we would love to invite this communist, I think that we cannot invite until March 18th in 2 years. So that's a bit of a non-starter. But, we should be able to reform the government. Are you guys all insurrectionary? Yikes, you guys are still mad about something. I don't know what you guys are mad about. We also sided in with communist Japan here, so we're gonna get Japan as a subject. That's less the kind of concern here though, although we have a couple subject revs here and there. But, we wanted these guys to be radical enough that they would start a rev. And I think we can radicalize them if we just try and pass something that they hate, and then we can abdicate to it. But we want to do it with someone in charge that we don't like this. Let's pull these guys out. Let's slot these guys in. We want something like this. Okay, so this cautious boyo, Mr. Liao Wei, he gets in charge. We should actually use him to do a really high infamy thing, to be fair. Before we do all this. How much infamy is this? 39 infamy? Alright, let's do it. And then... You accept? You do not. And then, with this guy, Mr. Liao Wei, we are going to try and pass a law that we know some people hate. Some people hate a lot. Which should make the movement get revolutionary. What's a law everyone hates? What's something people don't like? What's something people really don't like? Protected speech. We need the armed forces to rev. To be fair, they will rev in response to this. They'll get really mad. We want something preferably that the armed forces and the rural folk and the trade unionists dislike. So we'll have a bit of a look around here. So getting rid of regulatory bodies might do the trick here. So we're gonna enact this, or attempt to. And then this should make these guys revolutionary. And it gets critical, armed forces join, and now they're like, oh, we hate this, you stupid idiots. and it is specifically for Council Republic, remembering that you can just resign from office to a revolution that's brewing for a specific thing in order to pass it. So you're going to use this to pass Council Republic. So if you want to set this up, you have to, in order to get this to be specifically Council Republic, you have to invite agitators ahead of time, which we've done, to try and get a movement for an Act Council Republic, but we'll get it the easy way. This guy says, you know what? I'm not a fan of falling out a window. I'm not a fan of tripping and falling on a bullet. I understand what's been going on around these parts, and I'm just ready to give it up. Hands thrown up. He's like, yo, dogs, I'm not about to finna fly out a window. Instead, I'm about to fly from office, and we're going to get a whole bunch of loyalists, we'll have some elections, and we will enable Council Republic and government principles. Perfect. Woohoo! Now this will also negatively collapse the cloud of a whole bunch of people, and the trade unionists are in. Hell yeah, brother. We get the trade unionists, we'll slot them in, we never want them to go away, ever, ever, ever. They want to join the Patriotic Party? Jesus, this is a party if I ever saw one. That is a bit of a vibe. But now we have this syphilitic cocaine addict. Oh, no, wait, that's Convoy Raider, not syphilis. Well, this cocaine addict, he's in charge now. I'm the captain now. And we have become the People's Republic. We have become the People's Republic of Military-Industrial Complex / China. Ah, yes. Communism. So this is a big part of what we are after, the Red Army event, where the armed forces will lose the loyalist ideology, which has some opinions about taxes, and instead get the proletarian ideology. And because we have all these endorses and strongly endorses for things that we are going to be having, they will generally have really high popularity, generally have really, really high approval. So we're sort of locking in this newly created army. We're locking in the military-industrial complex. Also, not everything's recruited up, but we can see our goods from military buildings. They're not as high as they were at the very start of this episode, because we were on full mobilization, but they are still a whopping 358. And to be fair, at the start of this episode, we only had a 35% discount. Now we have a 65% discount, so that we would be paying around 600,000 or 650,000. Now we're only paying 350,000, which is fantastic. Let's take a look at Paul Allen's Navy, or Navy power projection. Oh my God, clear out, please. So we are up to 41,000, up from 27,000, so not quite doubling. I was expecting a little bit more. To be fair, though, we're not done recruiting up yet. Yeah, we're not that recruited. So, if we let everything finish recruiting up a whole lot more, like here we have 23 battleships we're waiting on, 14 battleships. Yeah, okay, we're not even we're maybe halfway through the recruitment process. And we've gone up around 14,000, so we'll probably go up another 14,000. And so with this, our prestige is up as well. Our prestige is up basically an additional 1,500 off the back of this, and we see that at the start of the episode, there were just 3 great powers. There's still just 3 great powers, but look at this. The British Republic is on the verge of becoming a major power, at which point it'll just be us and Austria. Now, to be fair, we could just whack around Austria and release like Hungary, and then they would be Jover for them. But we haven't been exactly playing like that except with Russia. And this is going to allow us to get people down from being also major powers if they're below 294. So you see Italy here? You see Italy? You remember when Italy was a GP? You remember when they were a rival? Now they're just a piddly, insignificant power. These guys wouldn't, even if they were released, they're our subject, so they wouldn't be a subject. Even if they were released, they wouldn't be our subject. We're annexing Argentina right now. It do be like that. And basically, everyone else is a minor power, so we could just declare war on the entire world here. Ooh, that's a visual thing if I ever saw one. It's still there. Please make the pain go away. We could just start declaring war on everyone. Now, we don't have enough time left in the game to annex, to puppet, reduce autonomy on everyone repeatedly partially because of how the new subject mechanics work, and you can't necessarily reduce autonomy on every 5 years type of thing, but we are in a position to wage war on everyone, and we certainly have the military capacity to do that with our you know, military-industrial complex, and we could just add more military. But I think that also, let's take a look at government dividends. We haven't switched economic systems yet. We're working on that right now. So we're working on going to cooperative ownership. So we'll be back with when we see that. I forgot to mention how we deliberately started to research macroeconomics at the very start of this episode, so that we would finish before we went over to cooperative ownership, which kills one of your slots. Now, they might have updated this, but the way it works is if you have everything slotted in and you just never slot anything out, you get a free slot from being able to stay on laissez-faire. So what we will do is we will come in here and find a company we like and slot it in and never forget and never change companies ever again. So I've been meaning to take a closer look at just how good it is to get throughput on trade centers, because my understanding is that it just increases the trade revenue. So something like this trade center of Gyeonggi, if we were to get 20% throughput, would just increase this trade revenue by 20%, which would just be kind of a free money modifier, as long as you keep trading. Although, to be fair, we went communist, so people are going to stop trading with us. The truth hurts. But if we take a look closer here at where is our... Do we really not have in Beijing? Okay, there it is. We are making... that balance is not that big. And that revenue is not that big, despite... Oh, I guess the level's not that high. We should be able to find a really high level one here. Okay, Shandong is reasonably high level. If we take a look at this, that's a pretty nice balance. That trade revenue is 8.4k. The revenue would be much higher and could support higher trade routes, which would be better, because if we could get... We have the convoys. If we could get the higher trade routes, then we can pump up the prices, and so we could have a less depressed economy. So what I'm thinking we do for the companies is I'm thinking we actually slot in the Panama Canal Company, because I think the throughput on the trade centers might be a little bit better than I think. Well, I can't think it's better than what I think, but also because it kind of fits with what we're doing is we are over pumping on the ships. Now, military shipyards, to be fair, this is a very large or small segment of our economy, so I'm not sure how useful that is. The tax income of 50k is not as much. I'm just thinking that the throughput on trade centers might be okay, and also per level they're giving 2% influence now with what we've done, which, to be fair, maybe it's not that good. But I think we're just going to slot it in anyways and just see what happens with some of these. Let's see, what is it? Shandong had this trade center, and it was at 8.4k revenue. So let's slot in the company and see what it trends towards. This is going to be our last slot in either way, just a little bit of an experiment. So we will see what happens with the trade center when we slot this in here. So coming and taking a look, I don't know why. This should go to 20% throughput. My understanding is that this actually increases the revenue. And so I've been meaning to take a look at these canal companies and make a kind of reevaluation of how good or bad they are. Hey, that doesn't look like 20 more percent. That looks like just a small thing. But okay, did the influence go up? The influence did go up, right? Because otherwise, if it's 2 per level, it'd just be 84. So we're getting more influence. That's an interesting thing. The migration didn't go up, so I guess that this doesn't get scaled, or did this get scaled? I don't think that this got scaled by the trade revenue, unless something moved with that just kind of directly. It doesn't have a tooltip that we can hover over to see if it's plus 20%, but if it's not increasing the revenue, it's really not that great. We're stuck with it now, though, at this point, because we won't have time to unslot it before we pass cooperative ownership. So, regarding our power block, of course, the 10 tickles, somehow Venezuela managed to become independent. We've been trying to harangue them and get them in, but it looks like we haven't been funding lobbies or bankrolling them, at least recently. We built a whole bunch in their country, so we have an enormous amount of leverage. You can see a ton of what they have is just owned by us, and to be fair, this might be where some of our negative balances are coming in, because we're paying for this building. Yikes. But it seems that now they're willing to join our power block, which I'm kind of keen on seeing if the losses here, a lot of these are abroad, because we own a lot of buildings abroad that aren't very profitable because they're not part of a larger market. So we're going to see about inviting dear Venezuela here, and a lot of these guys probably also will not want to leave once our economic system, or not want to join once our economic system is better, or sorry, different. not better. And so after we see them come in, it was at 66k, right? Let's see if this changes as all the values of their outputs adjust. 66.1k, I assume it adjusts on the Monday. We probably need to refresh the tooltip, and now it's, oh, now we're losing more money. The truth hurts. It's a tragic truth. Alright, well, so much for that. But they are in our market now, which is, of course, going to be nice. We are going to be, I think we're just generally siphoning off people from inside our market as long as we have a cultural community as well, because of that silly, how silly strong the migration principle is. Even, yeah, it's just, where is it? It's just the fact that it's giving us 20% on both this, but it's applying globally instead of locally. I don't think it's WAD. I don't think this is going to be how it ships. And that's how we have like 2,000 migration attraction. This is a little frustrating. We're currently at war. We are at war with, for Argentina, we're going to annex it, and part of that war is Austria. They joined against us because we're rivals, and we were about to clap them and release Bavaria and Hungary in this war, because those are our war goals, liberate Hungary, and, well, did Bavaria just get bricked? So our war goal on Bavaria just got bricked by the Austrian capitalist revolt, and the liberate Hungary is just going to apply to this single province. And so what would have been just an absolute clapping of Austria, kind of to round things out, because I think that we would have been the only GP other than them, or we would have made it so that we were the only GP left, I think, after clapping Britain just once. But now we're going to have a truce, and it's going to be annoying, because almost certainly the Rev is going to win here, and they don't want our help. Alright, so we are about to hit cooperative ownership, and I think the instant we hit it, it's going to take all of our government dividends away. But on the flip side, we're only operating at a 25% efficiency here, and so it will put them in the hands of regular people, and so I'm expecting this to boost our GDP quite a bit. GDP's been boosting in the past couple of days. Also, we finally got our first, I don't know if this is working as designed, I left some feedback for this, but we finally got our first Han cultural communities anywhere in the New World. Or at least in the land we got, and we got this land some time ago, I feel like 50 years ago, so this has been kind of a little bit slow on this front, but okay, without further ado, let's see what it do. Okay, oh, did the game think? Oh, yikes. Game doesn't like that. Alright, so, our government dividends are going down, we see? And our GDP was at 2.1 billion, but they aren't going down instantly. It didn't nationalize. Did it only nationalize the stuff that's inside our nation? Where are we nationally owning stuff? That's intriguing. If it only does it inside our nation, that would make sense. I mean, we do see some volatility here, and also that huge like lag spike. Government dividends are continuing to go down. Okay, so it's trying to nationalize everything. We also have this Rev of Bruin. I'm not sure exactly how we get the Rev to go away here. But to be fair, we got what we wanted. We are already on Council Republic. It's actually not too big a deal if we were to swap back to Parliamentary. Let's just make sure the option isn't too dire. Let's just choose this option, give ourselves a little bit more time. But I think these guys are still really mad, but we might be able to pass something that the Confucian Scholars, for example, likes, which would make this thing inconsequential. So if we just figured out a way to go state religion, they're both insurrectionary. That is a little bit of an interesting one. I mean, I want to watch this thing change, but also this Rev is spooky. Okay, but taking a look, the government dividends, do they keep going down? Are they going to go down? Okay, so now we have another, the game's like frozen on the tick while it's trying to think. Did it yeah, okay, so everything is slowly nationalizing here, which should raise our GDP. It should create demand. And so we'll see exactly how that shakes out. Okay, so did a lot of fiddling to just try and make the rev go away so we didn't have to worry about it while we're watching what's happening with the government dividends, but I forgot if you save and reload, it bricks your graph that you are seeing as far as the dividends go, and we did that, so we're down from like 1.6 million or something like this, or 1.4 million, and now we're down all the way to 400,000 in terms of the government dividends, which of course is, and we have a better efficiency modifier than we did before, and this is of course indicative of the fact that buildings are now privatizing. For whatever reason, we have like infinite bureaucracy. I guess that's because it's because we're passing parliamentary republic and we made the petite bourgeoisie happy again. We're not going to actually pass it, we're just going to keep cruising with this until some of the decaying stuff from these guys goes down from us firing all the generals from the Great Purge. Everyone remembers the Great Purge. But the economic stimulus you won't be seeing just quite yet, because what's ending up happening as a result of the ownership, all these guys should have a ton of excess, not these guys. These guys have a huge deficit. And so as they increase in SOL, the basket of goods that they demand will go up. And so right now they're busy increasing in SOL. So it is a slight lagging effect in terms of the economic stimulus that we're getting. So I think we'll be back kind of when we see more of that going in. I think the government dividends have just kind of stabilized around this level. Every Monday it was like we were getting a huge lag spike while I was trying to do it, and while I was trying to think and process the nationalization of all the owners. And what I think has happened is all of our foreign stuff is still owned by the government, and all of our like if we just click around, will we see? I don't see anything. I don't see any orange here, so I think all of this has gotten properly. Oh, it's all local workforce. It just forces local workforce. I thought it maintained ownership. Oh my god. So that also gets rid of everyone else's, not just our, so a bunch of other countries had ownership shares in stuff in our country, and it wasn't too big a deal. But all that's okay. We still see some manor houses owned by some other people. It's not like they owned, I guess, a ton. But it's all changed over. Okay, I was under a different impression as regard what would happen. I mean, one of the problems is we went for Council Republic while still on wealth voting, which is kind of a no-no. And so that's kind of why we're struggling a little bit at the back end here. But this is insane. So I thought it was every new building and every government-owned building would swap over, but it's just every building. So now everything's either foreign-owned or it's owned by the people, which is going to be fantastic for us, and expecting to be back with this SOL being way higher. Or both as SOL comes up, the buy packages people demand will be higher and higher, and GDP will rise, which will increase the prices of all of our goods, which is kind of like the opening salvo we entered with was, hey, prices are really depressed. If we get prices up, places like Jiangxi can actually employ up, and we see that there's fewer things that are showing red numbers in terms of the productivity, and that they can't employ up. And I think food industries, for example, couldn't employ up at the start of the episode, and now they can. And so we're starting to see the great healing of the economy. So normally you can't just yo-yo back and forth between two laws that are oppositional and two revolutions and just hope to stay alive. So in this case we have Parliamentary Republic and Council Republic, where we're getting a rev to preserve Council Republic. However, if we look at our radicalism chart and our loyalist chart, as a result of the SOL just absolutely blasting up into space, we probably actually can do just that, because the loyalists are coming way, way, way up, the radicals are coming down, and this is, of course, a result of, look at that graph in regards to the SOL, which, of course, is pretty sharply correlated with our GDP graph, where we are up 300,000 GDP. Of course, this is because as the buy orders get bigger, the economy gets stimulated, and we had something like a 40% surplus excess before. Now it's only a 30% excess. They'll still be upgrading in terms of their SOL, they'll still be moving on up. Average SOL, oh, that's average SOL. I was hoping that was lower strata SOL, but in any case, this is coming, as this comes up, in terms of what they're able to afford, they have bigger and bigger buy packages. We could also take a look at the prices. We didn't take a benchmark of like all the prices before, but they are just generally speaking looking a bit up. I think that both coal and iron, for example, were below 0%, and so this is further stimulation here, because as, for example, the consumer goods go up, then more of the consumer goods buildings get employed, and they have downstream effects on, coal and iron in a lot of spots. Like, as more of these food industries get employed, for example, they do use iron. Everything that is labor saving, which is a lot of stuff, uses coal. So we expect to see the prices of all this stuff go up, and then all this stuff get more profitable as it does. If we look, we also still have a whole bunch of financial districts even then. What is going on with the financial districts, however, is they only own stuff that is abroad. And we also see we are still getting investment pool transfer, and it's just all abroad, which is pretty interesting because we're getting to make use of the investment pool here while simultaneously being Council Republic, which is not normally a thing, and we have kind of a split sort of ownership where we can own stuff that's abroad, which is fantastic because all of our ownership currently, I actually think that this is pretty good situation because we're kind of getting to have our cake and eat it too, because we want all the stuff that's paying out government dividends, which we're kind of building increasing amounts of in other people's nations. We want these to be bought because 70% of the money is just getting annihilated. But these guys are more than happy to buy them. And then there's an owner, and then we get investment pool. But if we want to avoid having government ownership, we can just build in our nation, and then we have the public ownership in terms of just the local workforce. So we're trying to wrap up here because this episode is hella long, but we see about where this is starting to level off just a little bit in terms of the SOL. It's still going up. We're still getting, there's still an excess in terms of income and this sort of thing, which is driving this up. Just in terms of tax level, we are on even taxes. We could drive up SOL and stimulate the economy even more, but I'm not sure we can afford that in terms of the balance. And we've gotten up to 2.6 billion GDP from this switch where our money is no longer getting annihilated from the economy. We, of course, aren't getting the government dividends, oh no, that we were before. I guess we should have really snapshotted our national revenue before and our national expenses. Moving on to the national expenses and the sort of thing we are doing with the military-industrial complex, we can see we're paying $262 for the goods for military buildings. I think that we still have all of our modifiers. Yeah, we still do have the military armed forces modifier, and I'm pretty sure we have the company modifier, which means that this would be around 700,000 otherwise, which is starting to get to a figure where it's like, that's kind of substantive, and we are not mobilized at all. So of our, $8.5 million budget, we're getting a 500,000 discount effectively on the military goods when we are not mobilized. Now, to be fair, navies are always mobilized, and also this is super gratuitous. You wouldn't need this size navy, but if you were specifically trying to do a run where you were trying to maximize GDP to the absolute moon, building, maxing out like as many battleships as possible is actually probably a reasonable look, and then doing this to get a 2/3 discount on the battleships, because we are only paying for 2/3 of these goods, but the buy orders, much similarly how a bunch of the buy orders from us increasing the SOL caused our GDP to go up, because a bunch of buildings that were just barely profitable are now wildly profitable, like stuff like this, because the price of clothing and luxury goods just cranked up. Much like how that works, you would get the same stimulating effect by just having an enormous amount of buy orders created by battleships, where you could have way more of these industries. Now, to be fair, these maybe don't consume as much as they should, but when you get to the really late game stuff, it starts consuming a lot. And if we were to have like all the armies kind of on the latest the tank techs and the super late game techs, to be fair though, the consumption profile of tanks is probably not that good. Our ammunition's really butt. You don't like ammunition. The PM for ammunition is not that great. The PM for small arms is really good. And as you get into the later sort of tech, I'm just kind of cruising into it. The PMs tend to get a lot worse. The War Machines techs are not that great unless they've updated them for this this game, or this patch, sorry, rather. And so if we take a look, so for example, this creates okay, this PM, aerial reconnaissance, creates buy orders, but these buy orders aren't super good. And then if we take a look at light tanks, for example, it creates these buy orders, but the buy orders are on oil, which is not a good buy order, ammunition, which is not a good buy order, tanks, which is not a good buy order. And so it falls off a little bit. I think mech infantry probably of these has the best, but it's going to be the most pop efficient. Actually, that's not too bad. It might even be better to just honestly stay on either... it could be the case that trench works isn't even the best for stimulating the economy if you're trying to maximally stimulate, and that being on the one before trench, skirmish, is going to be a little bit better because it has the best ratio of small arms to ammunition, something like this. I think that the small arms are particularly good though. Chemical weapons, yeah, fertilizer production is probably pretty good unless you're running out of sulfur, which I guess you probably would if you were maximizing everything. But all of this is playing into us maximizing the cost to stimulate the economy. And so as a final salvo for this, what we're going to do is we are going to... Is there mobilize all armies? Yeah, hell yeah, brother. We're going to mobilize all our armies, we're going to raise all our conscripts, and we're going to watch our GDP go up. Now, this will, of course, collapse our economy, and this will be the end of the run, but don't we have conscripts in some of these? Okay, yeah, we have conscripts. And then we have this conscript army, which has just been entirely... I should have explained this earlier in the run, but you can switch to cannon artillery, you can add a bunch of conscripts, right? You could go, whee! We just add all the conscripts here, and then what you do is you click the upgrade all button, and you get to have conscripts with the higher tier stuff anyways. And so the prohibition on, what is it, the peasant levies doesn't actually apply. You can actually use all the late game stuff if you want. And so we'll just put in a bunch of cannons. Not that cannons are necessarily the best stimulus, but wow, we've acquired a lot of territory since we last did this. This is for the shakedown army to make people really afraid of us, but people have been just terrified of us for forever now. Oh my god, clicking please. Okay, I thought I was gonna... Okay, there we go. The end is in sight. The end is nigh. Also, it gets the bug where you can't hold down control anymore, which is kind of a little annoying. There we go. Perfect. Now, let us mobilize the last army and see just how big this is going to boost the economy. So every single thing that is producing all of these is just going to get wildly, wildly profitable. Now, of course, it's going to get wildly expensive. You can see the goods for military buildings has shot up in price. And remember, we're only paying roughly a third what we otherwise would be. So this would be 1.4-ish million. Now we're getting like a 1.4-ish million discount, and it's full stimulating the economy. So what you do is at a certain point, you can rake back construction, so you're just keeping up with your own population growth, right? And instead dedicate all your excess money to increasing the size of your military, whatever it is. You can see that the goods for military buildings is going to slowly crank up over time. Some of this is coming down. I think that that's just because employment is going up, but this will raise the GDP as well. Still waiting for it to go up to 2.7, but we could do it one tick at a time and wait and see once everyone gets fully mobilized, or much more mobilized. Alright, so Victoria 3 is amazing because it creates like lagging effects. We were like, okay, why isn't the GDP rising? And then I realized these profits are of course getting paid out to the lower strata who now own the building and the middle strata. We can see that their excesses have come up a little bit since we've done this full mobilization, and so we will just get a kind of increasing of the effect where the excess goes up. Once the SOL climbs, the basket of goods goes up, and it will be a little bit of a slow grind, but in theory you could stay full mobilized at all times. We could see as far as the goods cost goes, the goods for military buildings are up to 600,000, or they're falling. Why are they falling? Are they really just employing up that much better that the price is coming down? That is so very fascinating. I feel like they shouldn't be falling as we mobilize more and more. I guess really just the buildings just got employed up a whole lot more. Something to this effect. This is very strange to me. Maybe, I don't think we have any trade routes in, so this is kind of a phenomenon we were not expecting when doing this, but that this is rising is makes a lot of sense. After it's been falling for an extended period of time, now the excess is rising, despite the fact that SOL is still rising, and it's from the additional stimulation. So, in terms of, we're kind of at the cusp, or the beginning, of being able to really, really run it up if we wanted to. And, you know, maybe... I think we'll keep this save in the pocket, and that this might be the end of the run, but maybe we do one more. To be fair, we wanted to connect Africa to Asia, and we still haven't done that, because we still have to go through Egypt. And that's like kind of all we have to do in terms of, here, let's get the better power blocks thing. In terms of what we wanted to do, can we get rid of this? There we go. In terms of what we wanted to do with the block is almost the entire planet at this point, and we haven't even been trying to min-max conquest. But I think that this is definitely, in terms of maximizing GDP, for the absolute most, I think that the strategy does involve, well, it involves a few things, but one of them, I think it involves playing China and doing, making use of this modifier for free money, and you can definitely add way more military, and you wind down the construction costs. If we take a look here, we can see that our construction goods are 4.5 million. We could easily just instead dump 1.5 million into... Or here, let's take a look. So we have goods for military buildings is 600,000. Military wages is 400,000, roughly speaking. So that means 40% of the cost is going to be in military wages. So if we were to scrape 2 million off here, what we could do is we could create an amount of buy orders equal to, right? So we take away 2 million from here. So we're not constructing anywhere near as much. We come down to 700,000. Oh no. Or sorry, 7,000. Oh no. That's roughly the equivalent, because this is doubled. Or is this coming down to... Or we come down to we come down to 5,000 construction by taking away 2 million construction goods. Okay. And in exchange, we add 600,000 cost for goods for military buildings and 400,000 cost goods for military wages. However, this is going to stimulate our economy an additional 2.4 million, because for every 600,000 we're paying for goods for military buildings, roughly speaking, we're going to get another 1.2 million in stimulus. And so instead of the construction goods stimulating the economy at a rate of, 2 million, what's going to end up happening is the stimulus is going to arrive both in the military wages, the goods for military buildings, and the buy orders in excess, or the buy orders that are not having to get paid for because we have this modifier. So it would be the 2 million base plus an additional 2.4 million, right, from the part that we do not have to pay out, and for a total of 4.4 million in stimulus instead of 2 million in stimulus, in terms of how we're injecting money into the economy. And this is how you can think of your expenses, as injecting money into the economy. And so instead of injecting 8.6 million as we would be injecting, an additional 2.4 million, we'd be injecting 13 million. And so this would be how we increase the GDP through this method. If we don't continue, though, let's take a quick review of some of the stats and this type of thing. Our prestige is up to 20,000. Notably, we started with 2779 from Navy power projection, and now we're up to 5,000 from Navy power projection, and it really wasn't that much bigger an increase in cost. This, of course, is useful for decaying people down. We would have decayed down Austria, but look at how high they need now to be in order to be a great power. Let's take a look at how low they could go before they decay into minor. Yeah, so this is quite a bit rough. I think not too long ago, if they were over 5 something, they would be a great power. And so increasing your own prestige is one way to do this. The other really effective way to do it is to annex people, and the smaller they are, the more effective the annexation is, because the prestige requirement for a level is based on one of two things, whichever is lower. It's based off of a fraction of the average GDP, and so by removing more and more countries from the map, particularly the bottom, this reduces the average by a larger amount. If you take away Austria, it still reduces the average. It's just not by as much, but also you incorporate some of Austria's prestige when you just straight up annex them. The other one is a fraction of the leader's GDP, which is not what it's going off of right now. It's definitely going off of the average GDP. So if we raise our prestige, if we raise our prestige while annexing small powers, this is the best way to get everyone out from being either a great power or a minor power. If we take a look at GDP, we're leading super far ahead of other people, but you can see these huge upticks and huge upticks. These are a result of our investment. So this is a major confound because the French Commune wouldn't be anywhere near as strong as it is without our construction. Similarly with Spain, this start of this crank up, I think it started here, was us investing in Spain. Spain was just doing nothing before then, and then they cranked up, and then we got investment rights again, and we just absolutely blasted them into outer space in order to pull them into our block. And so, same thing with Bengal. We invested in Bengal. And so the GDP map mode and the comparative map mode is definitely a lot different. We see a lot of people are a lot stronger, but we see them getting stronger in these huge hitches, which are our huge, massive waves of investment. You know, we invested in Mexico too. Look at Mexico's GDP cranking up. And that's because they have really good investment opportunities as we take a look at them. You know, we didn't invest in the USA. We didn't invest too much in there. We invested in Ukraine. Look at Ukraine's thing. That's absolutely insane. We invested in them once. I don't think we have anything invested in Egypt. And so what we were thinking is, if we do another episode, maybe we just get investment rights off of Egypt. We beat them up for these investment rights. We dump a ton of money into their country, and then we are able to pull them into our block as kind of a final salvo. We bought a ton of Belgian stuff. We have a bunch of Belgian stuff. I don't think we can click. I think if we click on it, yeah, you can see. Yeah, so a huge chunk of the mines are owned by us, and now the financial districts are buying them up instead of us having ownership, which of course is exactly what we want to be in here. So really very, very nice here for us. Yeah, who else did we invest in? I think those are the big ones. We of course invested in like Kazakhstan. Is Kazakhstan anywhere near on this GDP list? I don't think they are. We invested quite a bit in them, but they're not that big. Kazakhstan's way higher than it like otherwise would be. You can see where they were and then where they came up to. We also invested in Yakutia, but I don't think they're going to be on this list at a very high rate. In terms of SOL, we're just below Belgium, and we invested in Belgium. I think we invested a little in Orania. Let's see, we definitely invested in Prussia, although the map mode might not indicate that. I think that we've had a couple little hitches investing in them. I'm shocked at how well Austria's done, though. I really don't understand that well. But here we have just kind of the SOL of a lot of these guys. And then if we take a look at population, we almost got to 1 billion. We're so close to 1 billion, and we're really cranking up. You could see that this is when... I don't know if we could see when we got multiculturalism and put in the company, or sorry, the principle at the same time, the Nutter principle. And you can see that's just a disgusting like trajectory here, because we have 2,000% mass migration attraction, and we're getting every single one. We're starting to siphon off from Bengal. That was another big one. Let's see if we can find someone who, like, right about the time we hit this, they started like hitching downward or stopped gaining pops. Yeah, other countries aren't looking so good. I know that Argentina was at an upward trajectory, so Spain's at an upward trajectory, and then I think they got into our market, and then they're going flat. Mexico just got into our market. Punjab's been in our market for some time, but I think the part where they started to decrease, I think that's when we got around... Is that around when we got multiculturalism? Maybe not. Egypt's cranking up. Ottoman's cranking up. Ukraine, I expect. Yeah, so when they got into our market, they start going down, which is a reason to keep people around. These guys around when we got multiculturalism, they stopped going up. And so one of the things is when you siphon off a bunch of pops from people, Argentina's not here anymore. They were the best example. They were completely up, and then they were kind of flat. When you siphon off a ton of pops from people, you make it cheaper to annex them later, which is a bit of an interesting one. And then just kind of taking a look at the power blocks, we could slot some of this stuff out and change things up at any point in time that we want. We thought about doing transportation infrastructure. That one would maybe be a little bit themey for the Belt and Road thing, and I guess we still have an opportunity to do it, in the sense that if we continue this, but I think we're going to move on to other ones. The game is starting to get a little bit choppy. The performance was so good until we got the opportunity to invest in a bunch of countries, and until we put in a lot more trade routes. To be fair, we kind of have more trade routes than we are. Actually, we don't even have that many routes. When we put in a ton of trade routes, we started lagging a little bit more, which is unfortunate. But also, and I don't know if this will get changed by like release. If you can see here, this part is starting to really lag out a whole lot, and I think what's causing it to lag, or it seems to me it was operating just fine. I think it's that when the location is set to all, and it has to process through other countries, I think it doesn't like that. I think it just gets mad when you have like 15 other countries you can invest in. And so as you get kind of later and later and you started getting investment rights, I think that it's a little bit difficult for the game. But to be fair, we have 9,000 construction. We're playing as China, and this is our power block, and we have 2 point whatever billion GDP. So this is not, this is a more pushed run. It's not the most pushed that you could absolutely positively do. Where's the power blocks? It's not the most push that you could absolutely positively do. You could definitely improve on this run like a whole lot, but I do think it's a pretty good indicator that the fact that we were doing really well up until like 1900 and then decently well past it with just like a really aggressively pushed kind of playthrough, I think is a pretty good indication on performance, that performance is dramatically improved. So very happy about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and this round. I really tried to focus a whole lot less on kind of the normal stuff once we got past like the first 30 minutes of the first episode, and focus a whole lot more on kind of the newer features. I don't think I'm going to do this as much in the next run, but maybe I will. Really kind of focused on power blocks a lot, not so much on like subject interactions, because to be fair, our subjects were just like completely docile the entire time, so it wasn't too big a deal. But we got to have a little fun with some tickling, and if you inquire as to how much tickling we did about 10. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, did we already do that YouTube algo stuff? Click the notification bell. Bam, we did a new one. And have a good 10 tickles. Yeah. Bye-bye now.
Now, children, I was asked to bring a healthy snack, so join me in the hall for swine livers and Capri Suns.